Picture this for a second. Imagine a completely devastated forest. Picture the blackened tree trunks, the thick layer of ash covering the ground, the total, eerie silence. Everything is burnt, barren, and honestly, it looks like nothing could ever possibly survive there again. But, as it turns out, ecosystems actually have a hidden blueprint for bouncing back.
Welcome back to The Explainer. Today, we're diving into an incredibly cool concept called secondary succession. We're going to see how nature doesn't just accidentally recover from disaster, it actually has a built-in, highly organized blueprint for it. So, let's unpack how it all works.
Here is our roadmap for today's session. Number 1, built-in recovery. 2, defining succession. 3, steps of restoration. 4, real-world examples. 5, a quick knowledge review. And finally, 6, morality and education. Let's just jump right in.
All right, Section 1, built-in systems of recovery. Nature's resilient blueprint.
You know, ecosystems really aren't meant to stay broken. The source material highlights this with a quote from Psalm 104:14, showing that the earth was essentially designed to bring forth life. Ecological recovery is presented as a built-in promise. Even after massive fires, floods, or storms, biological systems are remarkably resilient. They just don't give up. Secondary succession is this promise of recovery happening in real time. By understanding this natural process, scientists, conservationists, and everyday communities can actually work alongside nature to protect and heal our lands.
Moving on to Section 2, defining secondary succession, the science of healing.
So how exactly do these environments actually heal? Well, it all comes down to secondary succession. This is defined as ecosystem recovery in a disturbed area where the soil still remains intact. I really want to emphasize that intact soil. It's the VIP of our explainer today. Even if a fire wipes out all the trees and wildlife, the soil acts sort of like a computer's hard drive. It holds all the vital data. The seeds, essential nutrients, microorganisms, just waiting there to reboot the entire system.
Now, this distinction is absolutely crucial. In primary succession, there is no soil at all. Think about the aftermath of a volcano erupting, leaving behind nothing but bare, hard rock. Breaking down that rock to create just a tiny layer of soil takes centuries, which makes recovery painfully slow. But in secondary succession, the heavy lifting is already done. Because the soil is intact, new life returns dramatically faster. It's literally the difference between building a massive house entirely from scratch versus remodeling a house where a strong foundation is already laid.
Okay, Section 3, the steps of restoration, a step-by-step recovery.
Nature actually follows a highly predictable chronological journey when it's bouncing back. Step 1, almost immediately, opportunistic, fast-growing grasses and weeds pop up to take full advantage of the sunlight. Step 2, once they stabilize the soil, shrubs and young trees take root. Step 3, fast forward a bit, and mature trees form a protective canopy overhead. And finally, Step 4, the animals eagerly return to the habitat. Oh, and fun fact, some seeds actually require the intense heat of a forest fire just to crack open and start this very process. No way, right?
Section 4, real-world ecosystem recovery, science in action. Let's see what this recovery actually looks like in the real world. Think about a raging pine forest fire. The surviving soil, which is now enriched by ash, allows bright green grasses to vigorously grow back by the very next spring. Or take abandoned farmland. Vast unused fields will naturally fill with vibrant wildflowers and thick shrubs over the years. And after a coastal hurricane severely batters the shoreline, resilient native plants reestablish their deep roots over several seasons, gripping the sand and healing the ecosystem. Life reliably bounces back.
All right, Section 5, testing your knowledge, review time.
Okay, let's do a really quick knowledge check to see what we've uncovered so far. First question, what triggers secondary succession? I'll give you a second to think about it.
Got it? The answer is disturbances where the soil remains. It takes a major event, like a forest fire, a massive hurricane, or an abandoned farm field, to clear out the existing vegetation while leaving that precious soil completely untouched. That's what kickstarts the fast recovery process.
Next up on the review, why does secondary succession occur so much faster than primary succession?
It's because the soil is already present and intact. That foundational soil is the absolute secret to fast ecological recovery. Without it, nature takes hundreds of painful years. With it, recovery begins almost immediately.
All right, last one. What do we call those very first arrivals that paved the way in the early stages? Name a species that is common here.
Yep, it's those fast-growing grasses and weeds. Those opportunistic little species are incredibly vital because they act as the first building blocks of restoration. They prepare the harsh, bare environment for all the more delicate plants that will follow later on.
And finally, Section 6, Education Rooted in Morality, the Foundation of the Mind.
The source material draws a really fascinating parallel here. Just as a forest absolutely needs a foundation of intact soil to heal, the idea is that the human mind requires a strong moral foundation to truly thrive. Think about education without morality for a second. Intelligence without a moral compass can actually lead to damaging choices, just smart people making bad choices that hurt others. But the text argues that when you intertwine education with biblical morality, true wisdom is born, wisdom that leads to positive, constructive choices. The takeaway is that your education needs that moral foundation to be truly beneficial.
The text grounds this idea in Romans 8:6-7, noting that it promises peace of mind to everyone who keeps their mind spiritual. The concept here is that engaging with your learning through a lens of spiritual awareness ensures your knowledge is used to build up the world around you rather than tear it down.
So that brings us to a final thought for this explainer. Just as nature absolutely relies on healthy soil to bounce back after a devastating disaster, what moral foundation will you rely on when the inevitable storms of life hit you? How will you use it to bounce back? I hope this sparks some really meaningful thought for you today. Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer. Keep learning, keep growing, and I'll catch you next time.